The sport of kings, better than diamond rings. Football, Wildcats, football, Wildcats, football, Wildcats, football, Wildcats, football, Wildcats, football.
All right, Steve. Here we are.
Week 10.
Week 10. Double digits. All right. Well, let's just dive right in here.
Been interesting. First 9 weeks.
Did you think we would make it this long?
No, honestly, I didn't think we'd keep doing this, but
I thought you'd have bailed a long time ago.
I as well.
Oh.
Keep playing your cards right after the podcast and we'll continue this.
Yeah, every Friday night about 7:00. I'm like, is he gonna? All right. So week 10, first game on the slate is Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This opened at a 10 in favor of Pittsburgh, and it's down to 7.5. Now, is that because of the Ben Roethlisberger stuff?
I think people are high on Cincinnati.
Well, I was thinking it's more the fact that Ben was on the COVID list.
Well, he was on the isolation list because he was in contact with somebody, right?
Right.
But he hasn't tested positive for COVID. So many of these situations have already occurred and no real impact on the play of the players unless they've actually had the COVID test positive, right?
Right.
So I think there's nothing to worry about there. I think really I think the line's moving because people are hot on Cincinnati. As Joe Burrow gets more experience, the Bengals look better.
I have heard a lot of people taking Cincinnati in this, and I'm kind of surprised.
I'm on Pittsburgh.
I was going to say, what's your take? Because I actually...
it's a sucker bet, honestly.
Well, I was looking at a lot of the division matchups, going back and looking at, and Pittsburgh has absolutely owned Cincinnati in the past. They won the last 10 games that they played against them. So... And I think, Burrow looks good, but I don't know. I went back and looked at the games that they've played, and the one game where they really got beat down was when they played the Ravens.
That's what I was going to talk about.
And they only scored 3 points in that game. And I think
was it 17-3? What was it? 21-3?
I don't know what the other one was, but it was only 3. And I think that the Ravens are probably the most similar team to Pittsburgh that Cincinnati has played. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They blitz a lot. So I kind of think it's going to be more of that type of game. So I'm on Pittsburgh. And if I can get it at a touchdown, I like that better than 10 points. Yeah, Pittsburgh back at home. So maybe we don't have to worry about them playing down to the competition like they did last week in Dallas.
I have the same read here that you do. I think to play devil's advocate, people liking Cincinnati because they're playing better, but I think this is a trap game. They're probably also looking at Pittsburgh being 8-0, so you figure they'd have to lose at some point. But I don't think this is the game, and that was the thing I was looking at, is they play against a similar defense in Baltimore, similar division matchup where Pittsburgh and Baltimore have been the cream of the crop for a very long time. And I think that Cincinnati's not ready to take this game. I agree. If you get more than a touchdown or you're only giving up a touchdown, take Pittsburgh.
All right. So next game up is Washington at Detroit. I don't really have a lot to say about this game. I don't know if I want to touch it because I really don't know what to make of it. We have Alex Smith at quarterback for Washington. And, it's a great story, him coming back from the knee injury, but he hasn't looked very good in the games that he's played. And I don't really have a strong take on this game. You?
I like Washington a little bit. I like Washington every week, but I'm really south on Detroit. I think I wouldn't expect much out of them the rest of the year. I like the fact that you're getting a field goal. And I think Alex Smith is going to look good as he gets more reps. Let's say he's going to look better. He's 36 years old. So, don't expect the world out of him. He did throw 325 yards last week after he came in.
3 interceptions.
That's where I was going. He has 3 interceptions. So I'm looking for him to have less interceptions. The Detroit defense is not as good. The Giants defense is not great, but I think it's more, let's not look at the defense. Let's look at Alex Smith being very rusty coming off 2 years layoff. So as he shakes that rust off, and it's not like he has to learn for the first time, right? He's a veteran, so he gets that feel back quicker than somebody who's younger that maybe hasn't played as many games as him in the past. So I think that he'll bounce back and not turn the ball over as much. And at the end of the day, especially if you're getting more than 3 points, I see it 3.5. Some places it opened at 4. If you get more than a field goal, I think you have to feel confident going against Detroit against anybody getting more than a field goal.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like it.
Again, it's not a huge play. I mean, these are 2 bad teams, right? So it's almost you default to the philosophy here. 2 bad teams take the points, but I don't like Detroit giving up this many points to anybody.
All right. Next game up is Houston at Cleveland. Now, this game might have some weather concerns similar to what happened in Cleveland 2 weeks ago when they played Oakland. It's a very similar forecast going in. And that game was against Oakland and
They scored 6 points, I think.
it was 16-6. So it definitely affected the offensive
So
play.
big question mark here, right?
Well, my first take was
Let's talk about the running back first.
Houston, but I think if the weather is going to be consideration, then you have to look more towards the run game. And if you look at the run game, it's definitely going to put you on Cleveland's side because the Houston defense sucks against the run and Cleveland has a good run game. They're probably getting Nick Chubb back this week. I don't know if it's definite, but I think he's off the IR.
I don't see anything that says definite. I see a lot of questionable.
Well, I think it was almost like something else popped up.
Another injury, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see that.
So, but I don't know that matters. I mean, you still have Kareem Hunt regardless, whether Chubb plays or not.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it definitely matters if he plays. I think that helps Cleveland. Chubb will come back if he's playing and he's going to try to excel because he hasn't played in a while. So I like it a little bit less if Chubb plays, but I'm on Houston here, especially if you're
Really?
getting more than a field goal. Wow, Cleveland sucks. Cleveland's a fraud. They're 5-3. They suck. They scored 6 points against the Raiders. I don't care what the weather was like. They're supposed to play good and bad weather. I mean, I was all over Oakland, but it just justified the fact that they stink. Is OBJ done?
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah. Go against Cleveland the rest of the year, especially if they're favorites. That's my opinion.
Really? I have to disagree with you here.
Wow, I've been on Houston all year. I'm not jumping off now either.
Okay. All right.
The 2-6 Texans.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think Cleveland's a 2-6 team. They play like a 2-6 team. They stink.
Well, if you look at their record and some of the games they played, they don't stink.
You gotta look at who they're playing sometimes. All right, let's move on. Cleveland for you, Houston for me.
Okay.
I don't feel that strong to bet money on it with you.
All right. So next game up is Jacksonville at Green Bay. Green Bay is favored by 13.5.
At home?
They are at home. That is a big line, and there is some weather concerns in this game too. Again, similar forecast to 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a tough matchup for Green Bay against the run because I like Jacksonville's run game. So,
Well, you can run on both teams.
definitely.
So I don't think that it's necessarily a Green Bay blowout. Green Bay doesn't have a great defense, so I think that Jacksonville can run on them. They can throw on them. And that Jake Luton did a pretty good job last week.
Kept it close. Covered, right, against the Texans.
He was
Chark had one of his best. I mean, he has a big play for a touchdown early in the game. So it looks like they have some chemistry, which is good to see because Gardner Minshew really used Chark well when they were playing together. If you're saying it's too many points is what I heard, so I guess you're leaning towards Jacksonville.
I would definitely take Jacksonville on like a teaser. I don't know if
At
I
20?
want to take them at 13.5. I mean, I think they could probably, even if Green Bay goes up big, they can probably get back into it in garbage time. So
Yeah.
maybe I would, like at 14, I would take it.
Yeah, I don't really care. I think it's inside 10 points. I'm taking Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a game where everybody's going to take Green Bay. I mean, that's where I'm lining up on the other side of Jacksonville. Green Bay is clearly a better team. Are they like,
Yeah, but they don't have the defense. It's not like they can, shut the other side
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
So I think that Jacksonville can still produce.
if you have a solid run game, which Jacksonville does,
And that's really all you need.
Robinson's good. I'm Jacksonville, yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the only concern I would have is that Green Bay gets up big in the beginning and then kind of throws Jacksonville off their script and they don't run the ball. And
What's the weather item that you talked about in the beginning?
similar to what it was 2 weeks ago with some wind and
Okay, so the same locations are.
yeah.
So it's all wind games.
Yeah.
40-mile-an-hour gusts.
So no, I don't think it affected the Green Bay game 2 weeks ago as much as it did the
They
Cleveland
played
game.
Minnesota that week. Was that when Dalvin Cook came back? I think that was when Dalvin Cook ran all over him.
Yeah, gusty winds, rain. So
Yeah, so in that same condition, Green Bay struggled and lost by 2 touchdowns
well,
to
now
Minnesota.
I mean Green Bay is kind of probably more used to it. We don't know what Jake Luton is going to do in bad weather conditions. So
that is an X factor. We don't know much about Jake Luton other than what we saw last week.
we'll keep an eye on the weather forecast Sunday morning.
It's a big line there. I think it's almost like in today's NFL, you get a double-digit underdog. You should not even think about it. Just take the points, see what happens.
So, all right. Next game up is Philadelphia at the New York Giants. Now, these teams played back in week 7, where Philadelphia squeaked out the victory by 1 point, 22-21.
So since
Now,
they're playing
I
the
will-
Giants, real quick, if you don't mind, I totally forgot that we bet the Giants game last week, and I took Washington. You had the Giants. So now it's the official handover of the $20 back to you since I took it the week prior.
All right. We'll have to.
Congratulations.
Did we want to put this on? Which game did we
I also
disagree on?
lost a case of, I didn't even tell you, I lost a case of Stella Artois to a neighbor.
For the
I
same
took
game?
Washington, yeah. The Giants fan.
All right. So we want to put this on the Houston-Cleveland game? You liked Houston. I like Cleveland.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
fine.
We could always put another 20 on another game later.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I
Trying
was
to
like,
break
let me
the
see if
bank
there's
or
another game
anything.
I want to go 20 on. All right, $120 down on Houston, Cleveland. All right, back to Eagles, Giants. Sorry.
Well, I'll let you talk because this is your team.
All right, you want
I
my
believe-
analysis because I
Well,
know
I
I know
believe-
exactly what's going to happen in this game.
I believe that Philadelphia might be getting some players back from injury this week. So maybe you should start there.
Oh yes,
Is,
Jacqueline.
Miles-
Well, that is some good insight because that is actually 100% correct.
Is Miles Sanders going to be back?
Miles Sanders, probably the most underrated back in the National Football League, will be back this week, along with Lane Johnson,
Oh,
who is
that's always
critical
good.
to the run game. As we all know, he is the premier offensive lineman on that team.
He's critical to Carson Wentz.
So you have Goddard back. He was back before the bye, but
Didn't do much.
he was, well, here's the situation. He was questionable. So what I heard after the game was that he was questionable. They didn't do much game planning for him because they didn't even know if he was going to play. So by the time Friday rolled around, he was ready to go. They had already implemented the game plan. So I would look for way more involvement. And that's a FanDuel play is Dallas Goddard. He's going to have at least a touchdown and 80 yards. But because they'll game plan for him in that similar situation coming back off injury. So I wouldn't expect much, but it's worth noting that Alshon Jeffrey is expected back. Now, with the injuries to him, who knows if he can even, run the 40 in a sub 6 second time, but the guy definitely has size. So I guess they're going to run him out there and see if he gives them anything. But I would tell you this, in my opinion, that right now it opened up at 3.5. It's up to 4. Eagles on the road. I don't like the Eagles getting points or giving up points in almost any situation this year. I do
But that
think
almost
that
seems like a big line then. If you take into account the
it does. Well,
home field is still worth a little bit.
It's actually, well, I don't know how much they're valuing home field now. It's definitely worth less than
Yeah,
it
it's
has
worth
been in the
less, but it's
past.
still worth
Because
something.
we had that debate in the beginning of the season.
So
on
even if you say it's worth 2 points,
sure. I don't think it really matters. Like, they're going to win the game by 3 points. They're not going to cover. They're going to win the game.
I'm just saying it seems like a big line
Yeah, it is. I agree.
for the Eagles.
I agree. I don't.
I mean, what exactly have they proven?
Exactly my point.
What's their record?
3-4-1. They are the first place team, however, in the division, and they're playing a
love the
division
one.
matchup.
The one in football is always awesome.
You know what's funny is when it happened, you're just kind of like, one, it's the worst thing ever. But as you're looking through the standings, like it's such a big advantage that wasn't a loss. Instead of 1 game back or 1 game up, we're 1.5 games up. So anyway, I do like the Giants to cover here. I do not like the Giants to win. I think they're playing spirited football right now. I think you can't trust the Eagles. If this has any possibility of a blowout, I do think that the Eagles, as we come into November, you got to be careful for them. They start to build momentum every year in heading into December and then into January if they get into the playoffs. So,
well, I don't know. I think the Giants have a pretty good defense. I think they go under the radar quite a bit. They played a lot of close games. And do you know who leads the NFL in interceptions?
who is that?
Carson Wentz.
Oh, I thought you meant defensive backs.
No. So
Yeah, it's no fact that
I don't
it's
know.
no secret that Carson Wentz has sucked. He has had nobody to throw to, nobody to block for him. So I'm not saying that Carson Wentz is Joe Montana or Brady. He very well may play out to be a bust because you don't have a great track record of him staying healthy. But you can't criticize the guy when he's on his ass every 3 seconds. Right? He's holding on to the ball, because he's trying to make a play because he knows he only has 1 or 2 plays in a game to try to get him into the end zone. So I think a lot of the criticism on Wentz is unjustified. He is playing horrible, but football's a team game, and you have to take these other things into account. When you've got 2 guys that are basically free agents that are your star wide receivers, and your 2nd round draft pick running back gets hurt and hasn't been playing, and you got basically an undrafted free agent at running back, then your whole offensive line is decimated. So to make any long-term, sure, he leads the league in picks. What does that mean though? He leads the league in picks. He's played horrible and the Eagles are in first place.
in a shitty division.
It doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter to you, but
This is why it doesn't matter, is because of the fact of where they're going. They're coming out of a bunch of injuries and not all their players. As they get their guys back, all the transgressions that caused that horrible record don't matter because they're in a shitty division.
okay.
So when they start picking up momentum
All
like
right,
they do every year,
But I want to see
in
you
the last
guys
4 to 6 weeks,
I want to see you
last year,
guys
5
play
weeks.
a team like the Seattle Seahawks, like the New Orleans Saints.
you're going to get
And what's going to happen?
you're going to get.
I remember a few years ago, you guys played the New Orleans Saints, and that was quite the embarrassing game. But
What game are you talking about?
you guys played in New Orleans a couple of years back, and you got smoked
I'm
and
talking about the playoff game.
shut down. No, it wasn't a playoff game. I don't think it was a regular season game, but it was pretty brutal. Kind of like the Tampa Bay game last week.
So listen, the Eagles got the
all right.
Browns, right? And next week.
Uh-huh.
They'll smoke them. They suck. And then Seattle. So you're going to get your guess.
Good.
Look, you got to run a teams here. You're going to find out about the Eagles if they're going to get hot, right?
Okay.
So starting right after Thanksgiving, you got the Seahawks. Then you're going to the Packers. Then you're playing
good.
the Saints.
This is going to get
Then you're playing the
interesting.
Cardinals.
Oh, wow. This is going to be fun down the stretch.
Yeah, it's probably going to end up they lose the Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Cardinals. They lose 4 in a row. It's doom and gloom, and they're still tied for the division with the Cowboys and Redskins. The end. This could be the end of the division winner hosting a playoff game.
All right. So you're taking the Eagles then at -4.
I'm taking the Giants.
Hmm?
Do you listen to anything I say?
You're taking the Giants?
I said the Eagles are going to win the game and not cover.
Okay.
Not cover. That means take the Giants.
Oh,
It's
okay.
too many points. I agree
guess
with you.
I guess I wasn't listening.
Clearly.
Okay.
But that's not surprising.
All right. So yeah, but that was my take. I would be on the Giants because I think it'll be a close game. So, all right. Next game up is Tampa Bay at Carolina. And these teams played in week 2. Similar situation. Tampa got stomped by the Saints the week before, and then they play Carolina. So I definitely think it's a bounce back spot for Brady. I hope it's a bounce back spot because that game last week in Tampa with the Saints did not go the way that I expected it to. So Carolina will be without Christian McCaffrey.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Shoulder injury.
I don't know how much that hurts their team. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's awesome. It hurts their team. That's a stupid comment, but they have a very good running back behind them.
Tampa Bay has a good run defense though, and so I think Christian McCaffrey might make a difference in that type of situation. When these teams played back in week 2, the Bucs won. It was a fairly close game. I think it was like 30-24 or something like that. And
it was 31-17.
Oh, all right.
It was a 14-point gap. So let's take a look at that because you pointed, and I'm going to give you credit. You pointed this out earlier. The Bucs opened up week 1 with the Saints and lost, right? They lost by 11 points. And then they played the Panthers right after that and beat them by 14. So speed up to week 9, and they played the Saints again last week and got smoked. So it's a similar trend. I think it's going to continue. They get smoked by the Saints, bounce back game against the Panthers, just what the doctor ordered. And Tampa has a pretty handily one game at the end of the day.
In week 2, Teddy Bridgewater threw 2 interceptions. He was sacked 5 times. I mean, I think he's probably playing better now than he was back then. So it could be a little bit more competitive game.
So what do you do for last week's game? I mean, in my mind, I just throw it away, right? The Saints game, they lose 38-3, I think it was. I just kick that game out, especially because Brady's the quarterback, knowing that a lot of times, that's going to fuel him to come back the next week even hotter.
I don't know. I have my concerns, I have to say. It just doesn't feel like that Tom Brady necessarily. I don't know if it's age, if it's the transition, if it's maybe, I don't know what
I felt like it was a trying to get the players figured out. Like they have too many players, right? They have Antonio Brown into the mix. So it's kind of I want to get Antonio Brown. He's my boy. I brought him here into the action, but you don't really want to make Mike Evans mad. And then who the hell knows what Godwin did? I mean, he looks like he's still got a broken finger. He didn't really look that great last week. None of them did.
Yeah, well, I think he's got like pins in his finger.
Yeah, so
he's got some kind of
like a broken tip of his finger or something. I don't know how you catch a ball with that. But then obviously you're going to force the ball into Antonio, and from everything we're led to believe after the game, the comments that Arians was making, that none of that was Antonio Brown's fault for being new and not running the right route. It was all Tom Brady's wrong read. Now, I don't know if that's because they're trying to coddle to Antonio Brown because they just, he's fragile and you don't want it to blow up. But
he also said that Antonio Brown played more than he had anticipated
back,
or
right?
wanted to. So
he's going to dial him back.
I don't know. And I mean, this is not a game where you necessarily have to air the ball out a lot. So, I mean, in week 2, they ran the ball, which is the right approach against Carolina. And it was, I think Fournette kind of came in and took over that game and had 2 touchdowns. So I don't know that they need to, but it could be a good chance to try it. I don't know that the Saints were a good team to start, that whole thing, bringing Antonio Brown in and not having a lot of reps, but they were probably not a good opponent for that. So, I mean, it could be a chance to get them going. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think they win. I just don't have that, that whole Tom Brady feel going anymore.
They're trying to figure it out. The question is, they have the talent, they have the pieces. Can they put it together and start getting some kind of momentum built before the playoffs start, right? So, I mean, let's not forget they're 6-3, so it's a pretty strong record. They're sitting there tied on top of the division with the Saints. Oh, the Saints are 6-2 because they've played Tampa's played an extra game. But I just, the running game's an enigma to me. I feel like they should be running the ball down people's throats, like you're saying, with Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. And it doesn't seem like either one of them, like you watch the game, I feel like Leonard Fournette does really well, but they scored 3 points, Well,
I mean, how fast did New Orleans get up to a lead? And then it takes the run game completely out of it. And they're not a good team to run against to begin with. So I don't know that was really part of the game plan, but you have to still incorporate some of it. But then once you're down 14 points, it's...
So you like Tampa?
I do.
All right, let's move to the next one. It's Denver versus Vegas. So Denver's traveling to Vegas. They're getting 4 points. It opened up at 4, flashing at 3.5 at some places, betting down. So doesn't look like there's that much line movement. Who do you like here?
I like Vegas in this one. But I think it kind of depends on how the game goes, because what I kind of learned some things last week about these coaches that maybe I hadn't realized before. But and I thought about this before, but there's certain coaches that just want to do a certain thing and they go into the game, every game, and they just do it, whether it works or it doesn't work, and they just keep going. And Denver is one of those teams. They go into a game, they want to run the ball. They keep running the ball.
Who's the coach in Denver?
Is it Fangio?
I don't know. You're going on and on about coaches, and you're just like, the guy Denver's the same. So I mean, you can talk. Who's the coach?
I think his name is Nick Fangio, but I could be wrong.
So your point about the coach that you don't know his name?
Do I have to know his name?
Well, what's your point?
Is that okay? Well, if you let me finish before you interrupt me with your quizzes, that they went into the game against Atlanta last week. Atlanta is the perfect team to throw the ball against. And they went in and they just kept running it. Atlanta jumps up to a big lead. And then, I mean, Drew Lock had 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of that game. So they finally realized when they're down that they got to change their approach if they have any chance to stay in the game. And that's what they did. And look what happened. They almost came back and won. So I think it depends how this game plays out. If Vegas jumps up to a lead and Denver has to get back into it, then maybe you have a competitive game. But you can run on Las Vegas. So if Denver decides that they're just going to keep trying to run the ball, then it could be a whole different script on the game. Either way, I think Las Vegas wins.
All right, so after the podcast, we're going to have a whole discussion about prevent defense and how teams play a little bit different defense at the end of the game when they have a big lead. But anyway.
What did you just say?
Nothing. We're talking about prevent defenses, and that's why Denver's scoring a lot of points at the end of the game, because they're not playing this tough defense. That's what's occurring there. However, I will tell you that...
But
yeah, so it has nothing to do with, all right, so now we should throw the ball 90% of the time in the first quarter, because in the fourth quarter, when we're playing against a prevent, we've seemed able to move the ball.
No, okay, but so it's an approach that if you're going to score points, you have to throw, because it takes less time to throw than it does to run. You gain more yards when you throw the ball than when you run the ball.
Yeah, that's all true. But I'm just trying to explain to you that Drew Lock scored a lot of points at the end of the game because they were down 20 points and they were playing prevent. He also did the same thing against San Diego.
Exactly.
And brought him back for the win. But I digress. I think the mystery here is who's going to cover the spread, and I'm on the other side. I think it's Denver. I do like Denver. I do like Drew Lock. This is a divisional matchup, and the line is over 3. I think this is another 3-point game. Either way, Denver would win because they're getting more than 3 points. The other thing I would caution you on this is I see on Survivor picks, Vegas is heavily being picked, about 95% to 5% Denver. I wouldn't touch Vegas here with a 10-foot pole, especially in a Survivor pick with the division matchup. So just be cautious. This is a game that I would tell you to stay away from a Survivor pool. But I'm on Denver. I'll take the points and run.
Okay. All right. Next.
Vegas is also, I think, 2-2 at home. I was looking at earlier. They're not that impressive at home. I think maybe 1-3.
Well, one thing I did notice when I looked these teams up, and it was kind of odd, and this actually works to your position, but they actually have the last 4 times these teams have played, when they've played at Las Vegas has lost. When they played at Denver, Las Vegas has won, which is kind of backwards.
So the road team has won.
But it's also a different stadium for Las Vegas this year.
Vegas is 1-2 at home. Denver's 2-2 on the road. Vegas is 5-3 overall. They're 4-1 on the road. So they're not playing that great in Vegas, to your point, which just backs my pickup. Denver.
Okay.
Plus the points.
All right. So next game is Buffalo at Arizona.
Who do you like here? I'm interested to see your thoughts on this game, because I think you tend to like both teams.
Well, I think
you like both quarterbacks. Let's say.
No, I like Josh Allen. I don't necessarily like Kyler Murray. But I think it will be a close game. I think it'll be a high scoring game. So I'm going to take the points and go with Buffalo. It is also a John Brown revenge game, and I love a good revenge game narrative.
I like the Bills too. They just won. They just beat Seattle last week. I think that they look to run through the NFC West, go on the road, and I think they definitely get some points here against Arizona. I'd take them. Arizona's still in my mind. Like, I like them. I think they're a popular team. I think the quarterback could be good there. They might have a find, but they're, again, a team where you need to prove it to me. And I feel like Josh Allen is a lot like Murray, but he is progressed more because he's been in the league longer. So I look for the Bills to roll in this one.
Okay. So we're on the same side there, Buffalo.
Yeah, next game is Seattle. It's an NFC West matchup. Seattle Seahawks heading to the Los Angeles Rams. This game opened up as a 2-point Rams favorite. I do see where it's gone down one place of 1.5. What are your thoughts on this game? This is a tough division matchup. Fight for the division lead.
I find it strange that the Rams are favored. I think Seattle's clearly the better team.
I think they're coming off a bye, right?
They're coming off a bye. I mean, their record
Seattle
Seattle's
just
6-2. Rams are 5-3.
Seattle just lost to Buffalo.
Now Seattle has won 3 out of the last 4 matchups. The one that they lost by 1 point. So, I mean, having Seattle as an underdog, I'm going to take them all day. And I think it's going to depend on how much pressure Seattle gets on Jared Goff, because that's where he kind of struggles. So, and I don't know that Seattle has the pressure to bring, but so I think it could be a back and forth game. It could actually be a big Jared Goff game, but I think at the end of the day, I'll take the points on the Seahawks.
Well, I would take Seattle if I had to take it. Come Sunday, I probably will take it. I really like the over. The over is 53.5 up to 54.5. Seattle's been playing a lot of overs this year. I think the Rams can score on Seattle. They're familiar enough with them. And I think this game's played in the high 20s, 30s maybe. So if you're looking at like a 27, 25 score, something like that, I think
doesn't get you over.
I think you're in trouble. Yeah, I'm saying I think it's going to go into the 30s though. Maybe 30-27, get you over. Yeah, it's probably going to be a 3-point game. Again, the line's inside 3 points. I could see Seattle winning a 30-27, 33-30 score.
Okay.
I like the over.
I'm surprised you don't like it more.
The spot kind of scares me here a little bit.
Why?
Because the Rams are coming off the bye, so they've had a long time to prepare.
Okay, that's it.
There's a bunch of other reasons, but I mean, what else do you want to know?
I'd like you to state your reasons.
It scares me. I typically like Seattle. I typically hate the Rams. This is a game that scares me off because it's a divisional matchup that I think the Rams, when you're looking at the divisional matchups, like you just said, the Seattle's won 3 out of the last 4. But the Rams have been a good team over the last 2 years, right? So I think this is a game that the Rams could be just a little bit more up for Seattle, more prepared to play. They might have this game circled on the calendar. They get them again towards the end of the season. That's probably the more important game.
Yeah, well, I mean, these teams are all clustered up because you got Seattle at 6-2, and then you got the Rams at 5-3, and Arizona at 5-3. So, I mean, it's a big game. If Seattle loses this, they're all.
Yeah, and the other thing is the Rams are 3-0 at home. So Seattle's 2-2 away. They tend to typically play worse away, like more of a 500 and don't lose at home. So this season's playing out the same way. They're 4-0 at home, 2-2 on the road. Rams are 3-0 at home. I like the home team.
Okay. All right, next game.
I like the home team enough to make me kind of hedge on Seattle, but there's no way I'm taking the Rams here. So you should probably take the Rams.
And why is it that you don't like the Rams? Just because Jared Goff was out of the same class that Carson Wentz was?
I am a big Jared Goff hater. I think if you're playing against a tough defense, he does not show up. And unless the plays are scripted, and he's running a lot of posts to Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp has a couple injuries too, so that could not be good.
Yeah, and Some of it might go back to McVay winning Coach of the Year in 2017 too, which is bullshit. Doug Peterson clearly was the Coach of the Year, taking a backup quarterback and win the Super Bowl. And how do you give it to knucklehead McVay? I just hate the Rams.
All right. So next game on the list is San Francisco at New Orleans. And this opened at a -6 in favor of the Saints, and it is up to a -9.5. And I think you kind of have to take the Saints at that because, I mean, what else happens here? I mean, look what they did to Tom Brady last week. And what are they going to do to Nick Mullins?
I really want to hold my nose and take the 49ers on this game because everybody's going to take the Saints. There's really no reason to take the 49ers. And when that is usually the case. Yeah,
but didn't we have this whole debate? Was it last week when the 49ers played the Packers? We had the same conversation. And what happened?
Get spanked.
Yeah. So I just don't see how that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. I mean, because you got Michael Thomas back and now, so the Saints are hitting on all cylinders. They don't have anybody injured. So this is the Saints. I mean, they're healthy for the first time in a while. That's what happened last week.
I mean, the last time the 49ers and the Saints played, it was like a back and forth battle. But that's just, I mean, San Francisco is just not the same team right now with all the injuries that
that's
they have.
That's the problem with San Fran. That's what I was looking at them last week. I just how are they going to score?
So, I mean, it's no fault of theirs. But I think the Saints defensive line, kind of got to Tom Brady quite a bit. I mean, what are they going to do to Nick Mullins? So I just don't see how you could take San Francisco. I really don't.
Yeah, I'd say play Michael Thomas.
And I mean, the one thing San Francisco wants to do is run the ball, and the Saints are not a good matchup for that either. So, I mean, it could be ugly, I think.
Do you want to talk about the Chargers-Miami game next? It's down the list, but it's a 4:00. The next game on the list is the 8:00. So let's talk about Chargers-Miami first and then circle back. So Miami is the home team. They're 1.5 point favorites to the Chargers going across country. Miami's hot right now. They're just coming off the win against the Cardinals. Now they do have some COVID issues. They have 2 defensive players, a defensive end, Christian Wilkins, and linebacker Kyle Van Noy. He was a former Patriot, so I knew that. That's not good.
So I just thought I would throw that out there.
What is the COVID situation?
They were put on the list, I believe. Maybe
are they playing or not?
They're on the list. Probably not. I don't know.
They're on the list that they talked to somebody in the last week.
Yes, I believe it was coaches that started it.
Have a positive test. That's the difference I think we got to make.
Well, it made it sound like
don't
different. No. Let me finish.
When you have a positive test, you could miss the game.
I don't believe they had positive tests, but it sounded less likely that they're going to play than like the Ben Roethlisberger situation. Sounded like they're likely to be without these 2 players. Is what I read. Likely to be without.
Okay, you want to say it one more time?
No. Okay.
They're not going to play.
No. I didn't say they're not going to play.
They're likely to be without these players.
I didn't say they're not going to play.
No, you said they're likely to be without these players.
Well, that's the article. Now, on the other side, the Chargers are going to be without Joey Bosa, and I believe that's an injury.
Hasn't Joey Bosa, hasn't he been out
the Chargers? No.
I thought he was out last week. All right. Who do you like?
Well, this is the same situation that I mentioned with Denver. So if you want to rip my head off before I even get it out, that bad coaching is going to make me take Miami in this game. Because I realized that all these years that you think it's Phillip Rivers with all these ridiculous ways to lose a game, it wasn't Phillip Rivers. It was Anthony Lynn.
But he wasn't. How long has he been the coach there?
Well, long enough.
This is
last year, the year before. No, he was definitely there last year.
How long has Phillip Rivers been the quarterback for the Chargers?
Well,
that's a
longer.
bad comparison. The guy's been here for 16 years.
No. I understand that. That wasn't what I was trying to say.
All right, there's another stupid comment today. You're off today. This is not bad coaching. It's called prevent. They're running successfully in the fourth quarter, not because they should have been throwing the ball the whole first half. It's because the team's playing 10 yards off their receivers and they're wide open. This is what's going to happen. The Chargers suck. Miami's finding a rhythm. You can't be too confident about Tua because he's a rookie, but that team's got really good defense. I'm a little worried about those COVID situations. I like Van Noy. Really like him. I think he's great. But I don't think it's going to matter. I'd like Miami here. I think they squeak one out. It's probably going to be a tighter game played. And then maybe at the end, Miami's defense kind of looks to maybe get a quick score, some takeaways, and pull apart. But I like Miami here.
Okay.
You like Miami?
I just said that.
Welcome to Miami.
Okay. So I don't know. Is there a reason that you skipped one game to get to that game?
Well, because that's a 4:00 game, and now we'll go to the 8:00 game on Sunday, which is
okay.
Baltimore, New England. Stay with me, girl. Just have trust me. What do I tell you all the time? Stop questioning me so much and just trust me. Aren't I always right?
Well, why are they not in the right order?
I didn't make the list. I don't know. So anyway, we're going to go back to Baltimore,
Okay.
New England, if that's okay with you. In New England, Baltimore travels up to Foxborough. They are 6.5-point favorites. Jesus, man. Baltimore going into New England as a 6.5-point favorite. Did you ever think you'd see the day?
It's not your same old Patriots.
It's not your mom and dad's New England Patriots. That's for sure.
So your take on the game, Steve? Or should I give you mine?
I think we're opposite here, but what do you think?
Really?
I know I'm going with your Patriots.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I like
Wow.
I like the spot.
Did
here.
you watch the game last week
Yeah.
where they almost got beat? Like Bill
the
Belichick
Jets.
almost got beat by Adam Gase.
They're not the same team. I agree, but
Now I understand.
They are the same Bill Belichick. They are not the same defense, but they are the same concept and running the same schemes. And I fully expect
You realize that to
Bill Belichick to lock down Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens on offense.
okay.
So can Cam Newton, I think this is going to be like a tractor pull. Can Cam Newton get you 25 points against the Ravens? If he does, I think you win.
Okay, so you
24.
That Bill Belichick couldn't stop Joe Flacco last week, but he's going to stop Lamar Jackson this week.
It's a different quarterback.
I understand that, but
That's a sophomore comment by you. You are comparing scheming defensively for a pocket passing Joe Flacco,
well, do you
who
know?
just throws the ball, whose strength is throwing the ball 50 yards downfield.
Do
which,
you know
which
what
happened
the Patriots' weakness is this year? If you watch,
versus a Lamar Jackson who is crafty and dynamic and fast.
the
and
Patriots have
runs
been
the ball.
absolutely gashed on the ground.
Do you remember historically what Bill Belichick has done against Joe Flacco's passing arm? He has not done well. He has gotten beat by Joe Flacco.
All right, let's not even talk about Joe Flacco.
Do you know what Bill Belichick's history is against Lamar Jackson?
I know they
when
lost
they may have played
the
in the
last time they played.
playoffs, and Baltimore was 1 loss maybe in the regular season, 2 losses, and they came strolling into a matchup against New England.
And what happened
And
last year
New
when they
England
played?
shut them down, baby. That's going to happen again this year. Either Tom Brady, no Tom Brady, Cam Newton, what have you. It's Bill Belichick and that defense that's going to lock these Ravens down. I'm all over New England at home getting a touchdown. Book it.
I think the biggest mistake you can make is
You like Baltimore?
thinking that
Tell me you like Baltimore.
this year's Patriots are the Patriots of past, because they're not.
Tell me 2 things. Tell me you like Baltimore and tell me you got $40.
Okay, done.
You like Baltimore?
I don't see how the Patriots are going to win.
All right,
I
we got
don't.
2 bets.
They couldn't beat the freaking Jets last week.
All right, so Cleveland, write it down. I have Houston, you have Cleveland.
Yeah.
I have New England, you have Baltimore. Baltimore's paper champ. Play against a good defense, they're going to scheme them up.
I mean, I understand that Belichick takes away your best player and all that stuff, but I just don't think they have the offense. I don't think they can do it. So it's fine. We shall see. All right. So the last game on the card is my favorite game of the week, actually, which is kind of strange to say because I generally hate Kirk Cousins. But I think... What?
Nothing. Go for it. I see where you're going.
Are we going to $60?
Maybe. If you're
All
going
right,
to get
so-
Nikki 6,
No.
then we're going to 60.
No. Number one, the way that the Vikings have been winning the past few games is Dalvin Cook. Do you know what Dalvin Cook's stat lines are versus the Bears in the last 3 times that they played? Guess. Just guess. Take a guess.
The last 3 games,
Yes, the last 3 times that Dalvin Cook has played the Bears.
1 touchdown and 50 yards rushing.
Well, there's 3 games, so give me another 2 stat lines.
Oh, my God. Just tell me what they are.
Just guess something.
Oh, one game I think he had 30 yards rushing, and the other game I think he had 20.
Well, you'd be right then. So he had 35, 39, and 12.
Oh, I'm such a good guesser.
Do you know what his stat line was last week? So regardless.
It was pretty good. He had like 200 yards rushing.
Exactly.
He didn't rush it for 200 yards on the Bears.
So the Bears have a good run defense, and apparently they've been taking the approach that I think other teams should maybe take, which is shut down Dalvin Cook and make Kirk Cousins throw. So
Seems like a novel concept.
well, it seems like
Not everybody wants to use
football
it.
101. But
Yeah.
also, the Bears have won the last 4 times that they have played the Vikings.
That's strong.
So I think
So
that
Rams look
they're
like-
gonna Kirk Cousins is gonna have to throw it, and I don't think it's gonna go well. And on another note, Matt Nagy, who's kind of taken a little bit of criticism lately, has turned over play calling duties to his offensive coordinator.
That's good. I really don't like Matt Nagy calling plays, and clearly Nick Foles is getting into it with him a little bit too. I think they need to. Chicago needs to get into this RPO faster in the game. That's what Nick Foles excels at. Get into the run pass option. Let him make a quick, simple read. Either hand the ball off or hit the quick post. That is Nick Foles, and hopefully this new guy calling plays is going to put him in a position to score points earlier in the game instead of waiting to get down the game and Nick Foles shows up to try to save the day. Last week it was too late. They put 17 points up in the fourth quarter. It was too late. They lost 24-17. Bottom line, it's Monday Night Football. Chicago's at home. Chicago opened up as a favorite, and the public has bet them into a dog.
Wow.
He opened at 2, and now they're getting 3. Take Chicago all day long. Nikki 6, winner.
Yeah, that's my best bet of the week.
I
For
thought
sure.
you were opening up when talking about Cousins, like you were going to change your colors and take
No, this
Cousins.
is
You
exactly
really
what I
fooled
like
me.
because I hate Kirk Cousins,
Yeah, okay, good.
and that's exactly what I wanted to see.
You know what? You took a suspect podcast out of you and turned it completely around with that last pick. I like it. Now, hopefully they win.
So, all right. So closing thoughts, Steve.
I like Houston. I like Pittsburgh. I like Green Bay's a lot of points. I like Jacksonville. I like the Giants. I like Denver. I like Tampa. I like the over in the Rams game. I kind of like the Bills. I like a lot of games. I like Miami. I like Chicago at the end, like you said. I'm going to probably get in a lot of trouble this week.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us. A contentious Week 10 episode. Peace out.